It's story time. This story's called The Message Nobody Was Supposed to Read. Washington, D.C., 1946. The war was over. The mushroom clouds over Hiroshima and Nagasaki had changed the world forever. And somewhere inside the labyrinth of Army intelligence officers, Lieutenant Colonel Roth stared at a stack of Soviet intercepts that refused to leave his mind. The war against Germany was over. The war against Japan was over. But another war had already begun. A quiet one. The Venona Project had begun during World War II. It was a highly classified American effort to decrypt Soviet diplomatic and intelligence communications. Soviet messages were protected by one-time pads, theoretically unbreakable. But mistakes had been made. Some pages had been reused. Tiny mistakes, the kind that cryptographers lived for. The kind of tiny mistakes that could change history. Roth tapped a pencil against his desk. Let's see what Moscow forgot to hide. Across the room, linguists, mathematicians, and cryptanalysts worked through mountains of encrypted traffic. One analyst looked up. "Sir, we've got another reference to an unidentified scientific source." Roth walked over. "What kind of source?" "Possibly atomic, sir." The room became quiet, very quiet. Atomic. That word carried weight now. The Manhattan Project. The secret wartime program that had developed the first atomic bomb had been protected by extraordinary security. Thousands of workers had known only fragments of what they were building. Yet these Soviet messages suggested someone had gotten through. "Read it again." The analyst adjusted his glasses. "It references material from a source connected to the atomic program." Roth folded his arms. One message could just be noise. Another analyst spoke. 3 messages aren't. A third added. "And we've got 6. Roth's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't have noise." He paused. "We have a problem." The Manhattan Project had been one of the largest secret undertakings in history. Facilities stretched from Los Alamos Laboratory to Oak Ridge National Laboratory and Hanford Site. Its purpose had been simple: build an atomic bomb before Nazi Germany could. The project succeeded. What nobody knew for certain was how much of that knowledge had reached Moscow. Venona was beginning to provide answers. Answers that nobody wanted. Weeks became months. Messages accumulated. Fragments connected. Code names appeared. Scientific reports. Meetings, transfers, handlers, agents. Roth stood before a briefing board, covered in notes. "Let's assume the worst." A younger analyst frowned. "The worst, sir?" "The worst would be that the Soviets got inside." The analyst hesitated. "Do you really think that's possible, sir?" Roth gave him a look. "Son, if we're reading messages about it, it's not possible." He pointed to the board. "It's already happened." The investigation slowly converged on several individuals. One name would become infamous. Klaus Fuchs. Fuchs had worked on atomic research in Britain and later at Los Alamos. Venona intercepts helped identify him as a likely Soviet source. British investigators confronted him. In 1950, he confessed. The confession sent shock waves through the intelligence community. One analyst burst into Roth's office carrying a report. "They got him, sir." Roth looked up. "Fuchs?" "Yes, sir." The analyst grinned. "He confessed." Roth took the report. His expression didn't change. "You don't celebrate yet." The analyst blinked. "Why not?" Roth tossed the file onto the desk. "Because one spy means there are probably more." He was right. There were more. The trail led to Harry Gold, then to David Greenglass, then to perhaps the most famous espionage case of the Cold War. Julius Rosenberg and Ethel Rosenberg. The evidence came from multiple sources: confessions, witnesses, investigations, and later confirmed Venona decrypts. Each arrest revealed another piece of the network, another hidden connection, another stolen secret. Late one evening, Roth stood beside a window overlooking Washington. An analyst joined him. "Sir, do you ever wonder if we'll get them all?" Roth chuckled. A rare sound. "No." "No?" No intelligence officer with experience ever asks that question. The analyst smiled. "What questions do they ask, sir?" Roth looked toward the city lights. "How many haven't we found?" The implications were enormous. The Soviet Union successfully obtained information from sources connected to the atomic bomb program. Historians continue to debate exactly how much Soviet nuclear progress was accelerated. But there is broad argument that espionage provided valuable information. The atomic monopoly of the United States ended sooner than many expected. The Soviet Union tested its first atomic bomb in 1949. The Cold War intensified. An arms race began. And then came hydrogen bombs. Missiles. Mutually assured destruction. Generations would live under the shadow of nuclear weapons. Years later, portions of Venona would eventually be declassified. The project became recognized as one of the most significant counterintelligence successes in American history. It had revealed the extent of Soviet espionage during and after World War II. It confirmed suspicions, it resolved debates, and it reshaped historical understandings of the early Cold War. Roth sat alone reviewing another stack of reports. The war that everyone remembered had been fought with tanks, aircrafts, and battleships. The war he remembered had been fought with paper, ciphertext, fragments, patterns, and patience. The analyst from years earlier stopped by his office. "Sir?" Roth looked up. "Yes?" "Do you think anyone will ever know how much work went into this?" Roth leaned back. A faint smile crossed his face. "They shouldn't." The analyst laughed. "Why not?" "Because if we did our jobs right." He tapped a decrypted Soviet message. "All they'll remember is that the country survived." And with that, the cryptographer returned to work, chasing one more clue in a world where the most dangerous weapons were often not bombs at all, but secrets. The following story is a work of historical fiction inspired by real events, real intelligence operations, and real individuals associated with U.S. cryptologic history during and after World War II. The story incorporates documented facts regarding the Manhattan Project, the United States wartime program that developed the first atomic weapons between 1942 and 1945, the Venona Project, the highly classified U.S. Army Signals Intelligence Service, and later NSA cryptanalytic effort that decrypted portions of Soviet diplomatic and intelligence communications. Confirmed Soviet espionage activities involving individuals such as Klaus Volks, Harry Gold, David Greenglass, and Julius Rosenberg. The broader historical impact of atomic espionage on the Cold War and the global nuclear arms race. While many historical events, timelines, and intelligence findings referenced in the story are based on publicly available historical records, archives, and declassified material, the dialogue, personal interactions, private conversations, thoughts, emotions, and certain character portrayals are fictionalized for storytelling purposes. Any portrayal of Lieutenant Colonel Roth's leadership style, personality, humor, opinions, relationships, or specific operational involvement beyond documented historical records represents creative interpretation intended to honor the contributions of military, cryptologists, and intelligence professionals who served during a pivotal period in American history. This story is not intended to serve as a definitive historical account, official biography, or scholarly work. Readers interested in documented history of the Manhattan Project, Venona Project, Soviet espionage, and Cold War intelligence operations are encouraged to consult official archives, declassified government records, and academic sources. Above all, this story seeks to recognize the thousands of soldiers, analysts, linguists, cryptographers, scientists, engineers, and intelligence officers whose often unseen work helped shape the outcome of World War II, the Cold War, and the modern world. History remembers the bomb. Intelligence remembers the messages that warned of those who were trying to steal it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.